Tell me why you gotta go and make this build so complicated. Wait, what do you mean we're filming? Embarrassing. Hey guys, welcome to Wolfworks. I'm West. Getting back to you, getting back into the videos. I'm finally not sick. Still congested, still hard to talk on the phone. And what we're doing here today is going over the Palmetto State Armory Ptac-10 or Ptac-10 PSA-10 Lower. There's still a lot of confusion out there about Palmetto's 308 ARs. And hopefully today we'll answer a lot of those questions. A lot of the info is out there. You just have to dig around and do your research a little, mainly on the forums. Palmetto's answered these questions. But like most people, you don't like going through all that BS because the forums, you know, there's 25% information, 25% nagging, and then pretty much 50% BS, unrelated info there. So that's my goal here today, is to answer some of those questions. I know some of you may be asking yourself, well, hey, didn't you do this already? Yes, I did. However, I'm always critiquing myself and always thinking I can do it better. This time I did my homework and got all the info straight from Palmetto themselves. So let's go straight into this. All right, for the longest time, 308 ARs were fairly expensive. I mean, we're talking to the $1,000 range and up. And your two most common ones were your AR-10s by Armorlight and your LR-380s. And throughout the time, there's been other companies, CMMG, Fulton, I'm not sure if I said that right, Rock River Arms, does them. They have their own proprietary system. We're not even going to go into them today. And it wasn't until 2014, during SHOT Show, that PSA announced that they were going to be coming out with their own 308 lowers. And with that, they were going to be selling them at a remarkably different price than everyone else. And that got a lot of people excited, was their price point. However, with all that excitement, the PSA really didn't give out that much info. Their site still is relatively vague. And like I said, if you want this info, you really had to spend maybe a good half hour researching and whatnot, going through the forums, digging out the answers. So let's go ahead and dive straight into this. Little info about the lower itself. It is made from 7570 forged steel, not steel, aluminum, my bad. 7570 aluminum. Let's, get that straight right here. The trigger guard is integrated. I kind of like it. I'm not usually a fan of that. I like having my own options, but they did a good job. Smooth around the edges. They did try to go for a Dpms-ish style for their lower. However, there are some parts that are proprietary, and we'll go straight over that in just a minute. So first off, let's jump into compatibility. And as way of reference, what I mean by compatibility, I mean what parts you can get away with the AR-15 into the AR-10. Sorry, PSA-10. And if you hear me correct myself about that, it's because AR-10 is their own little thing, or animal. DPMS is their own. LR8s are their own. And PSA decided just to toss another wrench into that bunch and just say, screw it, we're going to make our own proprietary system too. All right. So compatibility, triggers between the AR-15 and the PSA-10 and some other options out there are compatible. However, with some reading, you may have to buy a bulkier spring to accommodate the harder primers off the 308 rounds or 7.62 by 51. Trigger pins work both. If you saw the other video going over this trigger, I was able to fit in there with those pins, and vice versa, you can fit those pins in here. Pistol grip, your mileage may vary depending on which pistol grip you get. Your standard mil spec pistol grip will fit. Some pistol grips with the beaver tail, you may have a little gap in between. Me personally, that doesn't bug me. And if you're using a mag pull, Magpul does make a little insert to fill that gap if you're anal retentive. I can't speak for all grips and all designs because there's just a million out there, but for the most part, it should work. Springs, detent springs and whatnot. Here you go. Here's what came in the kit. And here's what's off my AR-15 right here. I went ahead and disassembled it. If you're wondering why the front pin is loose, I was originally going to show you that. And as I was disassembling it, I managed to launch that detent into the infinite abyss of the shop. And while on my knees and hands searching for it, the only thing I can think of is you boner. Yeah, I'm pretty mean to myself sometimes. Anyways, this is from the AR-15. And we'll just get a quick size comparison. Try to work this in. Yeah, it's looking about the same. Detent springs. Same size. So I'm going to go ahead and safely say, and I'm not going to physically try it, just eyeballing it here. They look compatible. I'm fairly sure you can. There's nothing, or PSA didn't say anything that you can't. So your little springs, pretty much compatible. If you go with a different design or whatnot, some companies have their own methods. I can't vouch for that. Stocks. Stocks are a big one. And we'll get a little in-depth into this. Palmetto has their own buffer tube. But, and again, we'll dive deeper into this. You can use a standard AR-15 buffer tube with this rifle. You can use a full-length stock buffer tube with it and still accommodate your regular stocks as far as collapsible stocks go. You know, you got your enhanced SOP mod stocks, mil-spec stocks, Magpul, all that stuff will pretty much work with it. As for some other versions, you may have to worry about clearance and whatnot with your AR-380. Buffer tube and buffer spring. We're gonna put a pin on that one. For the most part, the PSA version uses a AR-15 heavy buffer. It's the exact same. Nice. It's the exact same length and style. It's just a heavier version, and what they went for there is kind of copied the AR-10 from Armorlight. They want the longer buffer tube so you can use standard carbine buffers. However, the springs are different. And let's go ahead and jump down to proprietary in general. There's a couple different routes you can take to tackle your stock with a build for your 308. The Armorlight AR-10 style is to use a longer tube with a heavier buffer and a heavier spring, which is what Palmetto seems to be doing. The DPMS style, I don't have one here to reference for you, is to use a standard carbine length buffer tube. And you know what, just before I forget, here's the difference. I mean, it really adds another inch or so to it. And anyways, they use a standard carbine length buffer tube, and they use a stouter, heavier buffer to kind of accommodate the longer bolt into the system. And so you can mix and match and play around a little. I can't testify for the reliability yet, and I honestly can't even testify for this reliability because I haven't assembled it yet. And just stay tuned, and we'll get you that info out pretty soon. So that's kind of proprietary to the AR-10 or AR-380, 308 style. Man, I'm messing up today. Too much coffee. Gotta have that right balance. I mean, I'm sidetracking again. You either have too much or too little. I'll find it one day. Moving on, let's go to proprietary systems. Or sorry, proprietary parts. And this is coming from Palmetto themselves. The buffer tube is proprietary, as mentioned before, as well as the takedown pins. I'm going to shuffle around here. Got all my parts organized for once. The pins will not fit your AR-15. They are longer and purposely made for your 308 build. However, with that said, you cannot cross pins with the Dpms style 308s or the Army Light 10 308s. These are their own specs for this upper or this lower. Some of you may think that sucks. For me, since there's no standard, there's no real mil spec for a 308 AR. It is what it is, guys. Let's see what else we got. Bolt catch. The bolt catch will not. I shouldn't say will not. Again, coming from Palmetto, the bolt catch is proprietary to them, and the reason being is that Dpms, I think, except for their G2s, I could be wrong. You know what? Scratch that last statement. Dpms style 308s have a forward assist closer to the ejection port, more like an AR-15 kind of would, while Palmetto has their forward assist way back here, and that creates a little bit of a difference between the bolt or the bolt carrier group and difference with the brain fart with the bolt catch. So you're going to have to get a proprietary bolt catch for your Ptac-10. Again, it sucks, but it is what it is. Also, I want to point out that the bolt catch uses a roll pin system versus the little set screw. Some of you guys can find that a con. I'm 50-50. I can live without it, but the set screw, calm down. The set screw is a little easier. Magazine catch. We're about to find out right now. Palmetto states that the magazine catch is a little bit longer than a standard AR-15, so let's find out right now. Actually, it looks a little shorter. Maybe the AR-15 is a little bit longer. You can see just a smidge of difference there. So, just to play on the safe side, I really don't feel like disassembling that. Let's go ahead and say that maybe you might need their bolt catch. They certainly say it. Oops. Palmetto certainly says it, so I'm just going to go ahead and agree with them on that one. All right. So, for the most part, that pretty much covers lower parts. They prior to all this, they released their lowers, and I guess the parts kits weren't readily available, so people were scrambling to find out what's compatible and what's not, and that caused a heartache. Their kits are out now for sale. You can buy individual parts too. So let's go ahead and move into compatibilities with other brands. You saw what's all proprietary there, so keep all that in mind. If you buy a DPMS or CMMG kit, lower parts kit that is, there are going to be some parts you're going to have to swap out. Again, here, that whole thing. So keep that in mind. However, Palmetto does sell its proprietary parts by themselves or as a whole, so you can buy the pins, the bolt catch, and the mag catch. I think it's about 24 bucks. Let me reference that real quick, and I'll try to annotate this. Let's just give it 5 seconds to, if I do get the, or if I do roll in the footage for that. 2, 1. Okay. So yeah, give or take 24 bucks, 25 bucks, and we'll move on from there. Sorry, $29.99. Anyways, moving on. There were still a lot of questions asked, and as best as I could, I got all this info from, again, Palmetto to kind of set the playing field out. Excuse me for 1 sec. Gross, dude. Yeah, whatever. All right, some questions asked. Will a DPMS bolt carrier group function with their uppers? Palmetto says yes. However, the forward assist will not work due to the serrations and the location of them on the bolt carrier group. So the function of the forward assist will not work between the two bolts and the two uppers. However, everything else will. It will shoot, it will go bang. And let's be honest, how many of us actually use the forward assist? I think I've used it twice in my life. And that was just because. Anyways. Will Armorlight takedown pins work in the PSA 10 lower? No. Palmetto says that the pins will not work because the pins are too narrow for the lower, or it could be the other way around. I need to double check that. I'll annotate that if it's the other way around. Anyways, it won't work. The statement from Palmetto right here, the PA10 buffer tube is a mil-spec diameter, but is longer than a regular buffer tube. Okay, we already said that. Oh, here's a good one. The standard rifle length tube will be fine, or will work fine, as long as you use the recommended 308 length buffer and spring to accommodate it. So pretty much as long as you do the Dpms concept of the proprietary spring and buffer, not, I repeat, not a AR-15 buffer rifle length with an AR-15 spring. So don't cross that because you will come across issues. Another good one, handguards. Drop-in handguards that use a delta ring will work with a standard Palmetto State AR-308 that uses a standard carbine drop-in handguard system, you know, your standard carbine grips. However, rail systems that require their own barrel nut will not work because the barrel nuts are a different size. You will have to find a company that does accommodate 308 builds with their rails. And also the height length is a DPMS low profile style, not their high-rise one. It looks more like the AR-15 counterparts, standard spec, so to say. Will DPMS Gen 1 uppers work with the PSA or Ptac-10 lowers? Yes. Palmetto says they've tested their uppers with they tested lowers with Gen 1 DPMS low profile pattern uppers, and they were able to interchange them and function well with their lowers. However, total fit will be the same as any AR-15. You may get a little rattled, or it may mate up perfectly. That's all subject to specs between companies, and that's all expected with the AR platform in general. Sorry about that. Had to swap out the memory card. Wrapping it up, or getting back to where we were. Palmetto sells the proprietary parts you need to accommodate other kits. So let's wrap this up. Why would you go through all this hassle of having to use proprietary parts, only buying Palmetto State Armory's kits to avoid that? Or really just testing and guessing on possible reliability or whatnot? Well, for one thing, let's look at some other lowers. CMMG, Fulton, others ranging from $200 to $300. Palmetto State Armory lowers going for, wait for it, $99. What? Yeah. $99 for a lower. For a 308 ready to install lower. Now hold on though. This lower right here is a blemish lower, and total out the door for that one, not much. Shipping's pretty cheap. But the price for the blemish lower is, again, wait for it, $79.99. You gotta be kidding, right? Seriously, $79.99. You can't even get most AR-15 lowers for that much. Granted, there are a couple of companies that will do it, and some sales. But in general, your standard Spikes, your standard Mega, and all the other ones, $79 for a 308 AR lower. That is insane. And now you see why I couldn't pass this one up. You know what? We'll just go ahead and go around. Other than just the finger marks and whatnot, you see any real blems? That's from me on this table. Rubs off. I'll tell you where the blems are. I don't know how well you can pick them up on the camera, but there's a little silver spot there, there, and there. And where's all that going to be covered up? By the upper. So for me, no biggie. I automatically don't care about scratches and dings anyways. It adds character. And none of my rifles are safe queens. So for me, it's a win-win. You may get one that does have a noticeable spot, scratch, whatever. But come on, 79 bucks for a 308 lower. Can't go wrong, guys. Seriously, man. And if you don't feel like building one, Palmetto does sell a complete AR308 for around $6.99. I'm not going to add in FFL fees or whatnot because that varies. But $6.99, I mean, come on, that's Smith & Wesson AR-15s right there. That's your bargain brands right there. And it's 308. So if you've been waiting for one, been saving up for one, check out Palmetto. No, they're not paying me to say this. I don't do that. No, they didn't send it to me. This all came out of my pocket. And I'll flat out go ahead and say it. Total price for this whole build, for the base gun itself, is $759. We'll go more into that with the build video. Check that out. That's coming real soon. As always, guys, I'm West. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting. Don't forget about the giveaway. Get your friends in it. You'll get more chances to win. And as always, I'll catch you on the next one.